The rain was coming down in sheets, hammering the cracked pavement of a dimly lit street. Streetlights flickered, struggling to cut through the mist that curled around them like ghosts. Puddles mirrored the neon glow from a rundown diner across the road. Ethan Reed, 22, trudged along the sidewalk, his sneakers squelching with every step. His hoodie clung to his skin, heavy and cold. He carried a battered plastic grocery bag filled with textbooks, the bottom sagging dangerously as water seeped in. Ethan, muttering to himself, "Great. Just great. Who even needs dry clothes anyway?" He checked his watch. Nearly midnight. He had just finished his second shift of the day, cleaning tables at Murphy's Diner after doing 8 hours stocking shelves at the campus bookstore. All for the luxury of paying next month's rent and maybe eating something other than instant noodles. Up ahead, a sudden flash of headlights pierced the rain. A long, sleek black limousine rolled slowly down the street. The kind of car that had no business in this neighborhood. Then, it happened. A loud metallic clunk echoed, followed by a sputtering sound. The limo lurched, its engine coughing like an asthmatic smoker before going silent. Ethan slowed. His eyes widened as the vehicle rolled to a stop directly under a flickering street lamp. Steam hissed from under the hood. The back door opened with a sharp click. And out stepped him. The man was tall, broad-shouldered, and dressed in a charcoal three-piece suit that probably cost more than Ethan's entire semester tuition. Even through the rain, Ethan recognized that face. Victor Kane, the billionaire real estate magnate. The name plastered across half the skyscrapers in the city. The man whose net worth had more zeros than Ethan had social media followers. Kane looked around, his jaw tight with irritation. Victor Kane, to his driver. "Explain to me how a car worth $500,000 just decided to die in the middle of nowhere." The driver, a stocky man in his 50s, held up his hands defensively. "Driver. Sir, I think it's the alternator, maybe the starter. Either way, it's not moving." Kane checked his watch, then scanned the empty street. His gaze landed briefly on Ethan, who immediately looked away and pretended to be deeply fascinated by a puddle. But Kane was already walking toward him. "Victor Kane. You look like you know your way around here. Any chance there's a mechanic open right now?" Ethan gave a humorless laugh. "Ethan. Not unless you count Jimmy's garage, but he closed at 9. And even if he was open, he charges more for a tire change than I make in a week." Kane sighed. "Figures." There was a pause. Ethan's brain screamed at him to keep walking, but another voice, the one that had always whispered "maybe this is your shot," spoke up. "Ethan, I might be able to take a look." Kane raised an eyebrow, his eyes scanning Ethan from drenched hoodie to worn-out sneakers. "Victor Kane. You're telling me you can fix a limousine in the rain at midnight?" "Ethan, I'm studying mechanical engineering, and I've fixed worse. Just saying." Kane studied him for a moment. The rain drummed between them. Victor Kane, finally. "All right, kid. Impress me." The driver popped the hood, releasing a hiss of steam into the cold night air. Ethan stepped forward, the rain running down his face like he'd just climbed out of a pool. He peered inside, mentally mapping out the layout of the engine. Ethan, thinking. Alternator's fine. Belts look okay. Batteries got juice. That leaves wiring or ignition. Kane leaned against the car, watching him like a hawk. "Victor Kane. You've got, 20 minutes before I lose my patience?" Ethan smirked despite himself. "Ethan, 20 minutes? That's generous. Usually, I have customers breathing down my neck at 5. "Victor Kane. I'm not a customer. I'm an employer, in this moment. And employers expect results." That jab stung more than it should have, but Ethan let it slide. He rolled up his sleeves, ignoring the fact that his arms were already soaked. The first attempt was a bust. Ethan tried bypassing the ignition relay with a pen cap and a stripped piece of wire he'd scavenged from the roadside, but the engine remained stubbornly dead. Kane checked his watch again. "Victor Kane. 16 minutes left." "Ethan, thanks for the pep talk." The driver stood nearby, arms crossed, clearly doubting this whole exercise. Ethan crouched lower, shining his phone's flashlight into the wiring harness. That's when he saw it, a corroded connector hidden under a cluster of cables. Ethan, muttering. Bingo! He pulled a small multi-tool from his backpack, one of the few decent things he owned. Working quickly, he scraped the corrosion, tightened the connection, and wrapped it in electrical tape he found in the limo's emergency kit. The rain was relentless, but adrenaline drowned out the discomfort. Ethan. All right, try it now. The driver slid into the seat and turned the key. The engine roared to life, smooth and steady. Kane straightened, his expression shifting from skepticism to surprise. Victor Kane. Well, I'll be damned. Ethan stood, brushing wet hair from his eyes. Ethan. Just needed a little love. And by love, I mean cleaning out 10 years of neglect. The driver let out a low whistle. Driver. I've seen trained mechanics struggle with less. Kid's got skills. Kane stepped closer, holding Ethan's gaze. Then he reached into his suit pocket. Ethan braced himself for a wad of cash, but instead, Kane pulled out a sleek black business card. He handed it to Ethan without breaking eye contact. Victor Kane. Call me tomorrow. Noon. Don't be late. Ethan looked down at the card, thick, embossed, with nothing but Victor Kane and a single phone number. No company name. No title. Ethan. That's it. Victor Kane. That's everything. You'll understand tomorrow. He slid back into the limo. The driver gave Ethan a nod of respect before pulling away, taillights vanishing into the rain. Ethan stood alone on the empty street, soaked to the bone, clutching the business card like it was a golden ticket. Ethan, to himself. What the hell just happened? Fade out on the sound of rain. The black business card sat on Ethan's desk like it didn't belong there. The rain still pattered outside his cracked window, but the only sound inside was the slow tick of a wall clock. It had been hours since Kane drove away, yet the scene kept replaying in Ethan's head. The smell of engine oil mixed with expensive cologne. Kane's unreadable expression. That voice, confident, clipped, like a man used to being obeyed. Ethan traced the embossed letters with his finger. Ethan, muttering. No email. No company. Just him. His roommate, Trevor, wandered in from the kitchen with a half-eaten slice of cold pizza. Trevor. Still staring at that thing like it's gonna sprout legs? Ethan. You ever have something happen that makes 0 sense, but also feels like it's the start of something big? Trevor. Yeah. That time I found a 20 in my sock. But that was the laundry fairy. This is probably just a rich guy being weird. Ethan glanced at the clock again. Midnight. Tomorrow. Noon. The next morning came too slowly. Ethan barely slept, flipping between excitement and dread. He shaved, dug out his only clean button-up shirt, and brushed his hair until it almost looked intentional. At 11:15, he was on the bus, clutching the card. By 11:55, he was standing in the gleaming marble lobby of Kane Enterprises Tower. The receptionist, immaculately dressed, looked up. Receptionist. Can I help you? Ethan hesitated. I have an appointment with Mr. Kane. Noon. Her eyes flicked to the card he held out. She took one glance and instantly picked up the phone. Receptionist. Mr. Kane's guest has arrived. She hung up, then smiled politely. Take the express elevator. Top floor. The elevator ride was silent except for the faint hum of machinery. Ethan's reflection stared back at him in the mirrored walls, nervous eyes, tight jaw. When the doors slid open, the view hit him first. Floor-to-ceiling glass wrapped the entire office, with the city sprawling far below like a glittering circuit board. Victor Kane stood near the window, phone in hand, his back to Ethan. Victor Kane, into phone. No. If they want the contract, they meet my terms. If not, they can take their cranes and... He noticed Ethan in the reflection, held up a finger to wait, then finished the call with one sharp word. Victor Kane. Done. He turned, smile faint but deliberate. Victor Kane. You came. Ethan. Figured you wouldn't hand out business cards for fun. Kane gestured toward a chair. Sit. Coffee. Ethan shook his head, but Kane poured him a cup anyway. The rich aroma filled the air. Victor Kane. I did some checking on you. Full scholarship, part-time jobs, top grades in mechanical engineering. You don't give up easy, Ethan. You ran a background check? Victor Kane. I run checks on anyone I might invest in. That word, invest, lodged in Ethan's mind. Kane moved to his desk, a slab of polished walnut that could have doubled as a dining table for 20. Victor Kane. I have a project, and I need someone I can trust to run point. Ethan. Why me? You've got people for that. People in suits with decades of experience. Kane leaned forward. Experience is overrated when it's built on bad habits. I need someone who thinks differently. Someone who doesn't quit when the manual says it's impossible. Ethan's skepticism showed. Ethan. What's the catch? Victor Kane. The catch is, if you fail, you're done. I won't give you a safety net. Ethan stared at him. Kane's eyes were steady, almost daring him to walk away. Ethan. What's the project? Kane's lips twitched. Construction site on the South Pier. Small job. But it's messy, supply issues, worker disputes. I want you to go there tomorrow. Fix it. Ethan. Fix all of it? I've never managed a crew before. Victor Kane. Good. That means you won't be arrogant enough to underestimate them. The next day, Ethan found himself at the South Pier, staring at a half-finished structure. Rusted shipping containers lined the lot, the wind carrying the scent of saltwater and diesel. A grizzled foreman named Carl approached, chewing on a toothpick. Carl. You the kid Kane sent? Ethan. Yeah. Ethan. Carl. Thought he was joking. Well, here's your mess. Lumber's late, half the crew's threatening to walk, and the crane operator hasn't shown in 3 days. Ethan tried to sound confident. All right. First step, I want to talk to everyone. Carl raised an eyebrow. You're not gonna start barking orders? Ethan. Not until I know what's broken. You can't fix an engine if you don't know which part's busted. That got the faintest smirk from Carl. By midday, Ethan had spoken with every worker. Some were frustrated about late paychecks. Others blamed missing supplies. Then he found the real snag. The supplier had pulled out because Kane's previous manager had tried to cut corners on safety gear. Ethan called the supplier himself. Ethan. Look, I'm not that guy. You'll get full payment up front for the next batch, and I'll personally make sure the site's up to safety code. There was a long pause before the supplier sighed. Fine. First shipment leaves tonight. Ethan turned to see Carl watching him. Carl. You're either crazy or you've got guts. We'll see which one. By the time the sun dipped low, the crew was working again, the sound of hammers echoing against the pier. Far away, in his skyscraper office, Kane stood at the window, watching the pier through binoculars. Victor Kane, quietly. Not bad, kid. Not bad. Cliffhanger music cue. The South Pier smelled different that morning, thicker, heavier. It wasn't just salt water and diesel anymore. Ethan noticed the shift the second he stepped on site. The crew was gathered in tense knots, whispering. Carl was pacing near the crane, his toothpick chewed to splinters. Ethan. What happened? Carl gestured toward a gaping section of the pier. Overnight storm loosened some of the support beams. Half the lumber shipment got soaked. And the city inspectors coming at noon. Ethan exhaled slowly. So we're standing on a ticking clock and a wet matchbox. Carl. Pretty much. And if the inspector fails us, the project's shut down. The crew's mood was mutinous. Ethan could feel it, the look in their eyes that said this job's already over. He clapped his hands together. All right. No panic. We salvage what we can. Dry the usable beams. Carl, get tarps over the rest. I'll call in a backup supplier. Carl raised an eyebrow. On what budget? Ethan met his gaze evenly. The one I'm about to convince Kane to give me. 15 minutes later, Ethan was in the site's tiny office trailer, dialing Kane's private line. Victor Kane, answering. Speak. Ethan. Storm damage. Half the lumber's ruined. Inspector in 2 hours. Victor Kane. And Ethan. And I need an emergency budget for replacements. Also, I'm not cutting corners, we're doing this safe, or not at all. There was a pause. You're asking for money before proving you can deliver. Ethan. I'm asking because I can deliver. But I can't magic dry lumber out of thin air. Another pause, then the sound of Kane's quiet chuckle. Accounts wired. 40 minutes. Ethan hung up and called the supplier. By noon, the inspector arrived, clipboard in hand, eyes sharp. He combed over the site like a bloodhound, tapping beams, measuring bolts, making notes. When he finally left, he gave a curt nod to Ethan. You passed. Barely. Keep it that way. The crew exhaled in relief. Carl clapped Ethan on the back. You might just pull this off, kid. The pier project didn't just recover, it started humming. Ethan set up a daily briefing with the crew, fixing issues before they snowballed. He didn't bark orders, he listened first, then acted. Workers who had been ready to quit were now showing up early. Carl admitted, grudgingly, that morale was the highest it had been in months. One afternoon, Ethan spotted an inefficiency. Workers were hauling heavy planks across the site in a zigzag because of poor equipment placement. He reorganized the layout, cutting travel time by 30%. Carl. You see stuff most people miss. Ethan. That's because I'm used to fixing things with duct tape and a deadline. The next week, the project hit a milestone 2 days early. Ethan sent Kane a photo of the crew posing on the new framework. Kane replied with just 3 words. Keep proving it. A week later, Ethan got another summons to Kane's office. The billionaire didn't waste time with small talk. You know why I sent you there, Ethan? To build a pier. Kane's lips curved. To see if you could handle a situation where quitting was the easier option. Most people fold. You didn't. Ethan leaned forward. So what now? Kane gestured toward a stack of thick binders on his desk. These are projects. Some small. Some worth billions. I need someone to run them. Someone I can trust to make the right call without hand-holding. Ethan stared. You're saying you want me to work for you? Full-time. Kane's voice dropped to a weighty calm. I'm saying I want you to work with me. But understand, the moment you stop proving yourself, you're gone. Ethan nodded slowly. The air between them was charged. I'm in. The news broke within days. Victor Kane considers college student for senior role, screamed the business blogs. Stock commentators laughed. Rival CEOs mocked the idea on podcasts. Social media was brutal. From fixing cars to running Kane's empire? Oh well. This guy's a PR stunt, nothing more. Even Trevor texted, Dude, you're trending. But not in a good way. Ethan tried to ignore it, but the pressure built. Kane called him into the office. Victor Kane. They're coming after you because you're not what they expect. Good. Use it. Ethan. Use, being the punchline. Victor Kane. No. Use their doubt as a weapon. In the boardroom next week, you're going to walk in, tear apart their numbers, and make them question why they ever underestimated you. The boardroom felt colder than it should have. 12 executives sat around a glossy table, most in tailored suits that looked older than Ethan. One silver-haired board member, Whitaker, smirked the second Ethan sat down. Whitaker. So this is the young prodigy. Tell me, Mr. Reed, what qualifies you to be here beyond fixing our boss's car? A few chuckles rippled around the table. Ethan didn't flinch. Ethan. Nothing, except results. He stood, clicked a remote, and the big screen lit up with charts, efficiency gains at the pier, cost savings from his layout changes, supplier reliability increases. Ethan. You said I'm unqualified. That's fine. But here's what qualification looks like in action. He went point by point, dismantling their projections and replacing them with data-backed strategies. Whitaker's smirk faded. Another board member leaned forward, clearly intrigued. When Ethan finished, there was silence. Kane broke it with a slow clap. Victor Kane. Gentlemen, this is why he's here. Somewhere, a phone camera clicked. The clip hit the internet within hours. Scene opens with the faint hum of a projector. The camera slowly pushes in on Ethan's face, calm but locked in, as his voice echoes through the Kane Enterprises boardroom. Ethan. And if you run those numbers again, you'll see the plan you've been defending would burn $5 million in the first year, and sink this company's credibility in the second. A beat of silence. Then a low scoff from Whitaker, the silver-haired board member. Whitaker. Bold words from someone whose biggest management experience is fixing a flat tire in the rain. A few chuckles ripple through the room. Ethan doesn't blink. Ethan. Flat tires don't build billion-dollar companies. But neither do people who ignore the truth when it's inconvenient. The screen behind him flashes with data graphs and drone footage from the pier project. The crew working, the supply trucks rolling in, the finished framework shining in the sun. Ethan. That pier was dead before I got there. Now it's profitable, ahead of schedule, and every worker on it is still employed. That's not luck. That's leadership. Whitaker leans back, silent. Kane, at the far end of the table, studies Ethan like a chess player watching an unexpected move. A phone camera clicks from one of the assistants at the wall. They think they're being discreet. They're not. Cut to hours later. The clip is everywhere. Twitter trending #EthanReed. YouTube thumbnails with "Student versus Billionaire Board" in bold. TikTok edits pairing Ethan's speech with motivational music. Trevor bursts into the apartment holding his phone like it's a trophy. Trevor, you're at 8 million views in 5 hours. Dude, people are making merch with your face on it. Ethan, I didn't even say anything that. Trevor, oh, you did. You stared down a board of suits and called them out. Internet eats that up. Ethan's phone rings. It's Kane. Victor Kane. Enjoy the attention, Reed. It's a storm. The question is, can you sail in it? Ethan. What's that supposed to mean? Victor Kane. You've got 3 weeks to create something from nothing. No handouts. If you succeed, I'll give you more than just a desk in my building. If you fail, the internet will remember you as the one-hit wonder who got lucky. The line goes dead. Ethan spends the next 48 hours drowning in research. Markets, supply chains, disaster relief reports. Scene, Ethan's apartment, papers everywhere, a whiteboard crammed with ideas. Trevor, you look like you're hunting a serial killer. Ethan, I am. His name is Failure. Finally, it clicks. A low-cost, modular housing unit, collapsible, durable, shippable anywhere in the world within 48 hours of a disaster. Ethan, it's not just shelter. It's dignity in a box. Trevor blinks. That might be the smartest thing you've ever said. They work non-stop. Ethan designs in CAD, Trevor runs social media, recruiting volunteers to help build a prototype in a borrowed warehouse. 1 week later, Kane arrives. The massive metal panels gleam under the warehouse lights. Victor Kane. Convince me. Ethan walks him through the assembly, the lightweight materials, the solar-powered lighting system. He doesn't oversell, just facts, precision, and vision. Kane circles the structure, running a hand over the wall. Victor Kane. Impressive. But an idea is nothing until the world says yes. Can you sell it? Ethan. Watch me. Investor Day. The conference room is a shark tank, a semicircle of millionaires and billionaires staring at Ethan like he's chum in the water. A woman in a red blazer cuts in mid-sentence. Investor. Mr. Reed, you're asking us to trust you with millions on a product you've never taken to market. What makes you think you're not another overconfident college kid with a dream? Ethan lets the silence stretch just long enough. Ethan. Because a dream didn't build that pier. A dream didn't restart Kane's limo in the middle of a storm. And a dream doesn't put families in homes after hurricanes. But I do. Murmurs ripple. From the back, Kane's voice, low, commanding. Victor Kane. I'll match every dollar pledged in this room today. Hands go up. One after another. By the end of the meeting, Ethan has $5 million in backing. Afterward, Kane pulls him aside. Victor Kane. You've earned more than an investment. You've earned a division. Run it your way. You answer to me, And only me. Ethan takes a breath. I won't waste it. 6 months later. The modular homes are rolling out worldwide. Ethan's division is a machine, tight, efficient, and growing. One rainy evening, Ethan is riding in a sleek company car when it jolts and stalls on a quiet street. The driver curses. Sorry, sir. Looks like we're dead in the water. Ethan laughs, stepping out into the drizzle. From the sidewalk, a teenage mechanic jogs over, tools in hand. Teenager. Need a hand? I can probably fix it. Ethan steps aside. The kid works quickly, the engine purring back to life in minutes. Ethan pulls a crisp black business card from his wallet. This time, it reads, Ethan Reed, Executive Director, Kane Enterprises. Ethan. Call me tomorrow. Noon. Don't be late. The kid looks confused but pockets the card. Ethan slides back into the car, watching raindrops race each other down the window. Ethan, quietly. Yeah, I get it now. Montage. A family unlocking the door to their new modular home. The South Pier, now a bustling marketplace with lights strung overhead. Ethan walking through the Kane Enterprises lobby, employees greeting him by name. The teenage mechanic from earlier, stepping into the same marble lobby Ethan once stood in, holding Ethan's card. Voiceover, Ethan's voice. Sometimes, the smallest yes changes everything. You don't see it in the moment, but one choice, one act, can set the course of an entire life. Final shot, rain falling on the kid's hand as he holds the card, reflecting the city lights. Fade to black. Text. Based on a true story.